Well, hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to Crowley's Bookshop. I am so happy to see you guys today for my very first sit down video. I am so excited because today I'm going to talk about books and about all words. We will have an entire video about all words in science fiction and fantasy, what they really mean and what they really bring to both the authors and the consumers and the readers that we are. But today I wanted to be a bit less specific and just talk about the Arthur C. Clarke Awards 2025 because the winner has been announced a couple weeks ago and I've read all the books from the nominees this year and I really wanted to talk about them so that you don't have to read them if you don't want to, or that you just can concentrate on the new picks that are really worth it, basically, because time is priceless and time is short and we do not all have the time to get into all the books that we want. So you may as well concentrate on the nice things and let the busy work for us, the guys who have a bit more time on their hands and who can read a bit faster, maybe. A couple of months ago, I decided to go back to awards because I am not usually the one to really go into the new things. I have an extensive library, an extensive book collection, but most of them are a bit older books, and not necessarily older, but older in like 2015-ish books. And I don't necessarily go to the new-ish stuff. I don't follow year to year what authors are putting out, if they're not Tchaikovsky or Stephen Baxter, which are basically the two authors that I follow the most closely with their new releases. And so this year I decided that I would concentrate a bit more on the new stuff. And because of that, I decided to read the awards. Not all of them, because there are a lot of science fiction and fantasy awards, but I thought that maybe if I would concentrate on award bodies, I would have the top of the top, the cream of the cream, the best of the best. Normally this is what it should be, but we will see with the few videos that I will make on the subject that it's not usually the case, and there's a lot of politics involved when it comes to awards, but this is another question and another topic for another time. I picked two awards to follow because of the limited time that I have allotted to reading. I picked the Arthur C. Clarke Awards because it gave the award to Children of Time, my favorite book back in 2016 or 2017. I don't actually remember, but because it gave the award to my favorite books of all time, I thought that maybe it would be nice for me to follow. And of course, the Hugo Award, which is the most prestigious award body when it comes to science fiction and fantasy. And I'm also going to read the Nebula 2025 as well. I have a bit more time on my hands now that it is the summer and my work is a bit less heavy, let's say, and also my holidays are coming, so I will have a bit more time on my hands, so I will follow the Nebula as well. But there is also the Locus and the British Science Fiction Awards, amongst others, that you can also follow if you have time to do so, but it's not mandatory that you do that. So we're going to go with the Arthur C. Clarke, and although the Hugo is more prestigious, as I said, and maybe the one that is the most followed by readers, the winner is not out as I am filming on the 18th of July, so I am starting with the Arthur C. Clarke because the winner is already out. And we are going to start with the winner of this year Arthur C. Clarke Awards with Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. And I ordered the book a couple weeks ago. I read most of them on my Kobo, but I ordered the book because it is the winner and I loved it so much a couple weeks ago and it's not arrived yet. I hoped so much that it would arrive today because I know it is in France. It is somewhere in the country, but it's not arrived at my home yet. But the winner is Annie Bot. The book essentially talks about a robot girlfriend who is learning consciousness and how to be human, and it is so beautiful. If it rings a bell, it is because it kind of is the same-ish plot than Companion, the movie that went out with Jack Quaid in the beginning of this year. And while there are similarities, it is not the same story at all, so I would not trust the movie too much. I searched before whether the movie was based on the book, but like both were out in very similar times, so there is no way that the movie used the book to build its plot. It's just a happy coincidence, and because it is very actual as well in our society and in conversations that we can have in our society. But I was so into the book. I read it in like 48 hours because I was so into it. I just couldn't put it down. And I am a big lover of thrillers as well. My first passion with science fiction books was thriller books. I love me a good thriller. And this book is exactly that. There is a whole mystery around, is she going to get completely loosed? Is she going to get completely fucked up? Is she going to kill the fucking guy that is her boyfriend? boyfriend, owner, more like it. And it is a very powerful book about misogyny, about how, like, the place of women in society, how men really see women as objects, first of all, and then maybe people at some point, maybe not. It is a very important book, and I really wish that we talked more about these types of books. And I know that I talk about misogyny and people are maybe going to jump at my throat because, oh my god, I said the big M word, but it's such an important conversation, such an important topic, and this book does it beautifully. And I hope that Sierra is okay, because there are some topics in the books that hit very close to home, and I know that as women we all have a shared experience, sadly, with men and dating, and the way she's writing them seems very, let's just say, it seems like she has had that experience herself, and I hope that she is okay. It is a very important book. I loved it so much, and I hope that we will talk about this book more as the years go by, because it is one of the greatest books on AI and robotics and the potential that it has in real life and in the whole domestic sense and bubble. It is so great. Hi, Deanna. Oh, yeah, mew to you too. But it's such a beautiful book, and I really am happy that he won. I mean, there is a Tchaikovsky as well in the nominees, and I hope that he would win, because Tchaikovsky is my favorite author in science fiction of all times. But if any other book should have won, it was this one, so I'm very happy that they did. Oui. Tu as lu le livre aussi? D'accord. She loved the book as well. Okay, that was the winner. As I said, very happy that he won, and I hope that maybe you could go and... Okay. I hope that maybe it gave you the desire to read it, because it's such a powerful book, and I loved it very, very much. The second book I actually bought when it came out in August or July 2024. It is a signed edition, and I'm very happy that I have it. It is Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It is also a book about robots, which is, it seems to be like a bit of a trend this year, because, as I said, it is a very actual and a very daily question that we have in our societies today. So it makes sense that books in awkward bodies go towards this subject, also climate change mostly. This book tells a story about a robot who kills his master, and then he has to go into the world and fend for himself now that he doesn't have a master and doesn't have tasks anymore. And we discover the world and how fucked up it is. And I really did enjoy the book. I know lots of people were not that into it because it also came out right before Alien Clay. So a lot of people concentrated on Alien Clay, which is also a book by Adrian Tchaikovsky that was very, very interesting. My favorite of his, one of my favorite of his, with Children of Time. So a lot of people kind of like ditched this one and weren't really interested in this one, but I loved it so much. There is so much dry humor in this book. He's so fucked up in his idea that humanity doesn't really deserve to live. And we know that a lot of science fiction, like it is a very important idea in science fiction that humanity is not really that great. But I enjoyed this book so much. It is very humorous, as I said, but it uses a lot of very important topics, mainly climate change and how we can use robotics in order to counter the very bad effects of, capitalism and factories and industries and all of that on the climate, and how it will unfortunately bite us in the ass in a few years and maybe less down the road that we think it's going to do. But it is a very great book. I really did enjoy it. As I said, I preferred Alien Clay that also went out last year, but I thought it was fine, and I rooted for this book to win before I read the Sierra Greer book. But yeah, I really did enjoy this one. I am a big Tchaikovsky girl. I love Tchaikovsky so much, and I will enjoy basically all of his books because he is such a good writer. He knows how to write non-human minds so well, alien or robots. It is actually very impressive how good he is with this. Okay, you liked it too. I can see that. Great. Yeah, you can lay on the cobble. That's fantastic. That's what it's for. Okay, that's it for Adrian Tchaikovsky. Then we go with... I have my little book here where I write everything that I read in months. And then we have The Ministry of Time by Killian Bradley. Listen, I really thought that this was going to be the winner. Not because it is that good, but because it was so extensively pushed in all the, the newsletter that I subscribe to for like Waterstones or Book Riots, these kinds of things, sci-fi, swords and spaceships as well. It was very pushed in a lot of these newsletters, so I really thought that it was going to win. This book tells the story of the British government that was able to open doors through times, essentially, and they extracted people who were going to die anyways to pull them into like our future, but like the present of the book. And essentially some people are here as anchors to help the people from the past to learn how to live in the future, if that makes sense. And listen, it is very interesting. I love the characters. I loved the idea of characters pulled through times who have to learn how to be modern people, if that makes sense. But the implications are just not there. There are very important conversations and very important topics that are completely out of the book. Mainly, why? First of all, why would you do that? It is never explained. And maybe it is a point of the story, but it is not there enough. We don't understand that enough. Then the whole implications that only the UK is able to do that. So what about the rest of the world? What does he say about the rest of the world? Is the rest of the world, aware of that? Are they able to do that? What does this mean on the continuum, space times and stuff and shit? I don't really know. Listen, I liked the romance. I liked the ideas that are pulled into it. I liked the fact that the future is not painted as good and the past as bad, and that there are true research done on how people talked and how people, worked and how society worked before. But I grew quite tired of this book very quickly because it gets annoying very quickly when the characters only ask about, oh, you talk about pipe. What is a pipe? What is internet? What is a phone? What is an orange? What is a fruit? It gets very tired very quickly. I just wish that we had it in a more macro sense and less on relationships. And I know relationships are the core of the book, but I would have liked to see it in a more macro sense on what it really means in the world, in the scientific world, in the politics of it all. I just didn't get enough of that. And maybe I read too much Stephen Baxter, like to be able to appreciate these kinds of books. But I don't know, I would have liked less romance, less relationships, and more like the big stuff, like the big topics that are completely thrown out of books. And I was a bit disappointed with it because of that. But I also liked it. I mean, it was not a bad book and I enjoyed it mostly, but you know what I mean. I just hope that we had more of the big conversations, because I like the big conversations. That's why I read science fiction in the first place. But that's it for the Ministry of Time. Then we have Extremophile by Ian Green. And this is such a throwback to 90s cyberpunk. I loved this book. And I'm a big fan of cyberpunk in general. I think it is one of the less appreciated science fiction subgenre, because we think about cyberpunk now, like edge runners and stuff like that. That's it. But it is so much more than this. And this book gives me such a huge Neuromancer vibe. For those of you who have read Neuromancer, it gives Gibson vibes, and I loved it. It is a book that talks about a group of people who are basically like hackers, but who are also like normal people trying to get by and survive. As I said, very Neuromancer. Or Snow Crash as well, very Snow Crash. And they have to deal with a big biohazard threat in a world that is completely gone to shit. Like the climate things in this book are so intense and is so well done. I loved it so much. The characters are so fucked up. I loved it so much. Like the mole, oh my god, I had tears in my eyes reading through her story because it was just so well done and so powerful as a story. And it's not even the main character, not really, but I just really like this book. I just really enjoyed the old 90s feeling to it, not because it is set in the 90s, but because it is a book that is very reminiscent from the golden age of cyberpunk, which are the 90s and the early 2000s. The only problem that I had with this book, and I read it on the Kobo again, but I checked and it is also the same in like a classic book format, but there were no way to differentiate between a normal sentence and when the character was talking. I'm not dyslexic myself. I do not have reading disabilities, but I would have imagined that for someone who has disabilities like this, it would have been extremely difficult to read through. And English not being my mother tongue, I had sometimes a bit of an issue deciding whether it was like just a sentence, a description or whatever, or someone talking. And I don't know, it was not the clearest, let's say, but I really did enjoy this book. I really did love the whole, the world building was great. The world building was fantastic. The characters were very well done. The relationships were not too much, but they were enough that we understood who was who and in relationship to who. It was very well done, and I thought it was a good book. I really did enjoy it. Then we have a book that I really did not enjoy. It was 13 Ways to Kill Little Bell Rock by Maud Wolf. And this book talks about a star, like a superstar in the future, who has 13 clones, and she creates a clone to kill all the other ones. And I really thought that it was going to be talking about how depersonalized we are with AI and, clones not being really you, but still being kind of you. And maybe she will have remorse, or, we understand that people are treated like they're not real, or, we do see that now with social media, the very parasocial thing that people are very mean on social media. They don't really talk to people like they are people. They talk about people like they are just, characters, not actual real people. I thought it was going to be that. And it is not that. It is just a book on, it's just a thriller, basically, of a clone trying to kill all the other clones and learning throughout the book that maybe she's a bit human too, and she shouldn't kill the others because they are human as well, kind of. And the real baddie is the original one, Little Bell Rock. But no, it's not real that. I saw people really enjoying this book because of the lesbian story, like the self-cessed lesbian thing, because of course she falls in love with one of the other clones. It lasts 2 pages. It is not enough of a lesbian story for me to get into it. And yeah, a queer story is not enough to make a good book, especially not the story where, we don't really talk that much about the story in itself, and the queerness is just, it's just 2 women who are the same woman falling in love in a very convenient way that is not very impressive and not very well done. I didn't get the book. That was a big no for me. I'm so sorry. I don't like to be negative about book. I'd rather be ecstatic about book. I'd rather say that I really did enjoy the book. I just didn't, and I'm so sorry about this. And the last book of the nominees was Private Rites by Julia Armfield, who apparently is very well known in the science fiction / genre. I didn't know about her. And I'm going to be very clear on this one. I read this book in one tattoo session. I read this book while I was going through the feeling of my chest. So maybe I was not in the best disposition to read and enjoy this book. But I was in a good disposition though, because this book is a modern retelling of the King Lear Shakespeare play. And I love Shakespeare. I'm very basic like that. I love Shakespeare. So of course I thought I was going to love this book. Because also there is a big, the main point of this book is that climate is going to shit, and it is one of the main selling point of the book. It is not in reality, and I just didn't enjoy this book at all. I really enjoyed the first part, the first 15 pages, and the last 15 pages, the middle, the 200 pages in the middle, were just too much for me to really appreciate. I don't have sisters, I don't have siblings, so I don't know how accurate it is. But do they have to fight and be stupid all the time? We're talking about 3 adult sisters who absolutely hate each other's guts and do nothing, even when their fathers die, to get to appreciate each other's or get to be closer somehow because, their father died. And I don't know, I just really did enjoy this book. I thought that everyone was so fucking stupid. Everyone was so into their own head, was so egoistic as well, I guess, and selfish. And I just didn't like that. I just didn't feel like it was enjoyable. And listen, I enjoy morally grey or dark characters. It is not the problem. My favorite characters of all time is A, Crowley, and 2, Darth Vader. I enjoy morally grey, alright? I understand morally grey. It is not morally grey when everyone is a moron. It's just characters being morons, and I have no patience and no desire for that. And as I said, one of the most selling point of the book was that there is waters are going up and up and up, and we have a big sense of doom on the world because it's raining so much and waters are rising and we don't know if it's going to hold. And in Ascension, I was the winner of the 2024 Arthur C. Clarke Award. Did that much better for the same idea. And because I read it like a month before, I think I had that in the back of my mind. I don't really see what the point was really with this book, going into this idea of the water rising and the climate change changing that bad. Because at the end of the day, we didn't really care about this. We just cared about the sisters being morons. The cult thing, though, was so interesting. It is such a little part of the book, but it was so interesting. And I wish we had more of that, because like what's happening with the mother, what's happening with the older women, you know, like it's so interesting, and we don't really get to see anything about that. And I'm very sad. I think I appreciated this book, and I liked this book because it was a Shakespeare thing, like a modern retelling of the Shakespeare story. I think it helped me getting into the story, but at the end of the day, I really didn't get what the book was trying to tell me, and I was very disappointed. But as I said, I'm fully prepared and aware when I said that I was not in the best disposition, because I was kind of in pain. While I read this book, I was getting a tattoo that was kind of painful, so maybe I was not in the best disposition to really get into the story and really understand the story. So I'm prepared to have you guys telling me that maybe I should read it again when I'm in a better mood. Or at least when I'm not getting a tattoo. Maybe it's going to change my appreciation of the story. So these were the 5 Arthur C. Clarke nominated stories for 2025. And as I said, I'm very happy with the winner. I thought Sierra Greer and the book really deserved it. The book is fantastic. As I said, I wished that my boy Adrian won, but there is still a hope. There is still hope for the Hugo Awards, because he is nominated twice for the Hugo Awards 2025. So we have hope. I have hope, at least. I really did enjoy, I guess, overall, being able to see what the new stuff was. And I don't know, I'm very happy with the exercise, and I will continue to do that in the future, going back to the winners and the award nominees to see what's new and what's great. I will also do a video for the Hugo nomination and the Nebula nomination in a few weeks, and we will see that on this channel. And afterwards, after I posted the 3 videos, I will do an entire video about awards and its politics and what it really means for authors and readers. And I hope it will be a nice video. I have just started to write about it and to find sources and, you know, what I'm going to say in this video. And I know even now that it's going to be a good video. And we're also going to talk about other book stuff, you know, book talk and book politics and publishing stuff and whatever, media literacy in general. I'm so excited for this channel. I'm so excited for everything. I hope it was not too messy, and I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the messiness. I hope you liked the little kitty right here having a nice time with us, and I will see you guys in the next video whenever it is out. I have no idea. I have not made a schedule yet. I hope you like this video, and I will see you guys on social media. If you want to follow me there, I am on Twitter, I am on Instagram, and I am on TikTok. I do videos and photos of books, of my outfits, of my makeup, of basically everything that I like. And that's it, really. I will see you guys later in the bookshop. Can I get a wahoo? Please, can I get a wahoo? See you guys.